low. It's the fewest claims in any week since 1969. Now, some companies have complained they can't find workers to fill a near record 10.4 million job openings back in September. With Thanksgiving tomorrow, this is a big travel day.
Oh, my God. So much stress.
She's at the airport in San Francisco. He's flying out of Fort Lauderdale.
Everybody leaving today, so until I get here early.
For 6 days in a row before today, more than 2 million passengers went through TSA checkpoints at airports at almost pre-COVID levels. Those driving could see some traffic. Many of the 48 million people that AAA predicts will drive somewhere for the holiday leave today. A Georgia jury is back deliberating this morning in the murder trial of 3 white men charged with targeting and killing a black man last year while he was out jogging. Jurors just asked the judge to see video and hear a 911 call again. Now, in closing arguments, security footage was a big point of contention.
It showed Ahmaud Arbery on several occasions inside a partially constructed house. For the defense, they made the claim that shows Arbery was breaking the law and that he's responsible for his own fate. The prosecutor made the case that at no point did Arbery ever steal anything from that partially constructed home. Thus, the claim of citizen's arrest simply cannot stand.
Fox's Steve Harrigan in Brunswick, Georgia. SpaceX launched a new NASA mission late last night in California.
On the way to humanity's first ever planetary defense test mission.
That rocket is carrying what's called DART, which will be aimed at an asteroid, testing a plan to save Earth in case someday one's on a collision course to hit us like an Armageddon. But unlike the movie, DART will bump the asteroid off course, not blow it up. America's listening to Fox News.
Honey, I'm officially sick of junk mail, emails, and ads about Medicare. Why are they suddenly bombarding us with this stuff?
Because it's open enrollment. We could get more benefits. Clear up your Medicare confusion with simple, easy answers at EasyMedicare.com. That's the letter E, the letter Z, Medicare.com. Annual enrollment is now through December 7th. Go to EasyMedicare.com or speak with a licensed agent at 1-888-486-1662. EasyMedicare.com. We make choosing a Medicare plan easy.
Speak with a licensed insurance agent or visit EasyMedicare.com Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. EST, Saturday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. EST. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, has neither reviewed nor approved this information with regard to the federal Medicare program. EasyMedicare.com is powered by eTelequote Insurance Inc., a private duly licensed insurance agency appointed by Medicare Advantage, HMO, PPO, and PFFS plans and standalone prescription drug plans and insurance companies holding Medicare contracts approved by CMS. Enrollment in any plan for coverage is subject to insurance company approval. This information is not a complete description of benefits. Contact the plan for more information. Limitations, co-payments, and restrictions may apply. Benefits, premiums, and/or member cost share may change on January 1 of each year. You must continue paying your Medicare Part B premium.
Well, stocks are falling the day before Thanksgiving closes Wall Street. Fox's Lillian Wu has market and economic numbers live here in New York.
Dave, many investors not buying despite that blowout jobless claims report just in showing a drop to 1969 levels for those filing for first-time benefits. The Dow is down about 120 points, S&P off by 13, and NASDAQ sinking 60, with tech names continuing to weigh on the benchmark. Retailers also a drag on the market. Gap tumbling more than 20%, Nordstrom 27%, with both companies reporting earnings misses for the most recent quarter. Dave?
Well, and the price of oil is barely budging, still above $78 a barrel. Gas is down slightly, while much is made of the big increase over last year. AAA's national average for regular is almost 2 cents down from a week ago, just under $3.40 a gallon. It's $1.29 more than last year. The sexual misconduct scandal swirling around a hockey team may be moving toward a settlement.
The attorney for Kyle Beach confirmed Tuesday that the former Chicago Blackhawks player is headed into mediation with the NHL franchise in an effort to settle his lawsuit. Susan Loggins confirmed the judge overseeing this case has denied her motion to move the case into the discovery phase, which would have opened the way for each side to procure evidence. Mediation is expected to begin on December 5th. Beach is seeking in excess of $50,000 in damages after he says the Blackhawks ignored his allegations of sexual assault against former assistant coach Brad Aldrich back in 2010. An independent investigation into the matter earlier this year showed the complaint was largely ignored. Matt Napolitano, Fox News.
The NHL recently fined the Blackhawks $2 million after an investigation showed the team mishandled the allegations. General manager Stan Bowman resigned. And the head coach of the Blackhawks at the time in 2010, Joel Quenneville, was also named in the report, and he then resigned as the head coach of a different NHL team, the Florida Panthers. I'm Dave Anthony. This is Fox News.
WPTV First Alert Weather on WSTU is brought to you by Code Red Roofers. Code Red Roofers cares and calls you back. Shows up and finishes on time. 287-2829. Code Red Roofers, the roofers who respond. Now here's the First Alert meteorologist.
This afternoon, highs in the low 70s, partly sunny skies, and some passing showers possible throughout the day. Tomorrow morning temperatures warming into the low to mid-60s, afternoon highs in the mid-70s, plenty of sunshine with an isolated shower. Friday, similar weather to Thursday, but a bit more mild. Morning temperatures in the low to mid-60s, afternoon highs in the mid to upper 70s. Some showers possible with a cold front on the way. That cold front moving in over the weekend, reinforcing that cooler air. I'm WPTV First Alert meteorologist Katya Hall for WSTU 1450, Martin County's Heritage Station.
You are listening to WSTU, Stewart, Jensen Beach, Hope Sound, Martin County's Heritage Station.
It's time now for the Casey Ingram Show on WSTU. The opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and not necessarily those of WSTU. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's time to call in with your questions and comments at 220-9788, 220-WSTU. And now, here's Casey Ingram.
Well, here it is. Happy Hump Day right here in the WSTU studios coming out of our beautiful Treasure Coast area in Stuart, Florida. Folks, I can't believe it. We are coming down to the end of the year. And for those of you that have followed my show for a few years, you know I go on hiatus in December. So this is my last live show of the year. And looking forward to next year. I have some great shows that are lined up beginning of the year next year already. We're going to have Ted Astolfi with the Economic Council. It's going to be an interesting show because the Economic Council has been really working behind the scenes and trying to bring in new educational or schools, trade schools here to the area. So he's going to tell us a lot about what they've been doing this last year. Nancy Smith, she's going to be in the studio just to talk about her career as a journalist. I had the opportunity to attend a function where they were raising money for scholarships at the Indian River Community College and or State College, I think it's called. And Nancy talked about her life's work, and it was so fascinating. I said, Nancy, I hope you can come on the show and share that with the listeners. So she's going to be on in January. We're going to have Dr. Millay, Superintendent of Martin County Schools, on again. And, of course, you know, we couldn't not have at the beginning of the year my buddy, my partner, talk about Martin's Eric Miller. So.
Hey.
Eric.
I'm going on hiatus, too, coming up, just not with you.
That's right. We're both going to be on separate hiatuses.
Right on, man. Right on.
It's a good time of year to do that. And you know what, Eric? I keyed up my Facebook today, and you know what came up in memories?
I don't know.
It was the last show last year, and who was on it? Eric Miller.
Wow,
would talk
what a
about
track
Martin.
record.
I know. So this is going to become a tradition now, I think.
I don't know. That sounds
2
like
years
a
in a
winner
row.
to me. Do I need to start
starting.
bringing a wreath or something?
I know,
you know,
exactly.
and bring some,
Maybe, you know.
a side dish, a casserole for the last
Turkey
show
days
of the year.
tomorrow, Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Well, happy
so.
Thanksgiving to you. Happy holiday season as we kick it off.
Yes.
You know?
Same to you, Eric. It's been a wonderful year, and I've really enjoyed having you in the studio, contributing throughout the year.
I've enjoyed being here.
It's a lot of fun. And folks, if you have we're kind of having an open topic today, talk about various items. So if you have something you want to talk about, you certainly can type it in on the Facebook Live feed on my Facebook page, The Casey Ingram Show, or just call the studio, 772-220-9788. That's 220-WSTU. And, we can talk about a lot of different things. But, Eric, you know what? We have a new multi-million resident coming to Jupiter Island, of course.
I saw that.
Did
Isn't this so
that?
exciting to know that
Folks,
Nancy Pelosi is going to be Pelosi? Pelosi, is that
Pel-
how she?
It's kind of coming out that way, let's face it. Insider trading pays off. She has a $25 million vacation home right here in Martin County. So,
well, she learned from the best too. Her husband in Baltimore served for a number of years before they moved out to the left coast, and now they're coming back home, as they say. Them chickens will come home to roost.
They're coming home to roost, and
back
it's
to the East Coast.
It's pretty interesting. She's coming here to our Red Martin County, but
good Lord,
I thought, yep. so just to remind everybody on the insider trading stuff, I had a few updates on that, but she has made her total premiums was over $42 million to $136 million over the last just couple years, over 82 transactions. Her average premium or profit is $519,000 to $1.6 million. It's a range. They don't have to report exactly what they make. It's a range, so you have to guess. And her 1-year returns for her stock is over 45%. Her options returns are almost 67%. So the average returns are 56%. But the S&P, which has been amazing performing, was just 36%. So they need to really get their tips from Nancy Pelosi because,
Yeah, there's nothing going on there. How else could you afford a $25 million mansion in Jupiter Island?
In Jupiter Island, and that's not the only home. So since our last show, 47 members of Congress on insider trading, 47 members of Congress have violated laws designed to stop insider trading and prevent conflicts of interest.
Anybody we know?
Yes, just going to go over the Florida ones. We won't go over all 47.
No,
but
not necessarily.
Let's see.
Let's stay close to home here.
Ethics watchdogs and just a few in Congress want to ban lawmakers from trading individual stocks, but too many of them are making money for this to, I think, actually pass. But there was a Stock Act that was passed back in 2012, and when they violate the Stock Act, making their millions of dollars on the insider trading, $200 is a standard fine. Sometimes they get a pass though because it can be waived by the House and Senate ethic officials. So it's a real penalty if you violate that. But who has violated the Stock Act? Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Democrat from Florida, and she was months late reporting 4 stock trades made either by herself or her child. Oh, and wait, there's more. This one we all know in CD18. That's Representative Brian Mast, and he's Republican. He was late disclosing that he'd purchased up to $100,000 in stock in an aerospace company. By the way, the president of the company had just testified before a congressional subcommittee on which our Representative Mast sits.
How convenient.
It's very, again, it's...
Did he buy or were they given? Does it show whether the stocks were given to them or whether they actually took money out of pocket? Because I'm having a hard time figuring out, knowing Brian from personal conversations with him, that he shared with me in I'm not even going to say confidence at this point because he is who he is, that things were tight financially, and I understand that being where things were when he came out of the military.
That's right.
And the obstacles that he had to overcome with his family. But how do we go now to making $100,000 stock trades when he was trying to raise a mortgage to buy a house to even be able to carpetbag up here in CD18 to get into Congress? So I think there could be more than meets the eye to a lot of this, and I would ask too: does any of this kind of influence? Now that we all know that there is a lot of corruption within the political system, and it's getting really close to home at this point. But how close to home does it actually get? Can you look at your county level and your state level as well and begin to see these types of influences? Not necessarily with insider stock trading. But, take a look and keep an eye on things, because if there's corruption in one place, you're going to find it in another if the systems are like.
Absolutely. The Stock Act only applied to federal representatives, so it doesn't apply to our local officials or state officials, so we don't really know what's going on there. And even the Stock Act, it's almost a joke. It's almost impossible to really trace their trades, and they have, I think it's up to 60 days to report it. It's just a range, and then if they don't report it, maybe a $200 fine.
Okay, so are we splitting hairs? Let's play the other side of the fence for the people that are sitting out there for a second and ask the question. So we should tell anybody that we elect that you can't make any money and trade stocks. Do you know how expensive it is to live if you want to make investments? You're gonna go up there and you're gonna have to sacrifice.
Well, you're only making $179,000 a year or something. It's
I still have to live in D.C. D.C.'s expensive to live in, so I should not be able to trade.
Well, I think there's another thing you can do here, Eric. And by the way, since our last show, The Federal Reserve Bank officials, a couple of them had to step down for the same type of thing. It was a type of insider trading. Fed presidents Robert Kaplan and Eric Rosengren stepped down from their roles after reports revealed that they bet on real estate and individual stocks. The central bank's number 2 official was also caught, which is Richard Clarida, for rotating millions of dollars out of bond funds and into stock funds in February of 2020, right before the Fed started making emergency actions. Kaplan was the former president of the Dallas Federal Reserve Bank and former partner at Goldman Sachs, traded millions of dollars of stock in 22 companies. Rosengren, formerly president of the Boston Fed, invested in real estate funds that owned mortgage-backed bonds of the same type the Fed itself started buying. So Richard Clarida sold between $1 million and $5 million of shares in bond funds and purchased shares in 2 stocks on February 27, 2020. The trades occurred a day before the Fed issued a statement saying it was closely monitoring the emerging pandemic and its economic impact. The Fed cut its benchmark interest rate just a few days later. Now, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell said during a congressional hearing that the trades by Rosengren and Kaplan seemed to be in compliance with the existing rules, which, quote, just tells you that the problem is that the rules and the practices and the disclosure needs to be improved, and that's what they're working on. And they did work on it, Eric. They have actually, in last month, October 2021, they banned individual stock purchases by top officials at the central bank and unveiled a broad set of other restrictions on their investing activities, roughly 6 weeks after these reports broke on these trading. So now there is an outright ban on purchases of individual stocks or holding individual bonds. However, they are able to still invest they have rules where they can send it through brokers and let the broker invest for them. So it doesn't
in a trust.
In a trust.
In a blind,
that's right.
a blind
in a blind
investment
That's
trust.
exactly right.
Yeah.
So it doesn't prevent them from having investments, but it prevents them from using their insider knowledge.
Their influence on the investments and
or
the
writing
insider,
regulations that's right.
Correct.
That would influence how companies, whether or not they are awarded contracts or maybe
this is even a bigger problem. This is symptomatic of something I think that's bubbling up out of the ooze that we've all known is there. But when you start looking at this Build Back Better project that they're talking about, and the administration saying how they want public-private partnerships, as James Stack was talking about on the show that we did last with him, at a level that now the corporations and the government are in bed together. You know, they've taken away the mask. You don't have to trade anymore. Whoever's in office gets to pick the winners, and the winners get to pick the people that go into the office. So it becomes less of a democratic republic and more of an oligarchy.
It truly does. And let's go back to Representative Mast for a second. You were just talking about when you first met with him, you know, it's a struggle sometimes to make ends meet. It's tough. And, you know, how things have changed. I think he's running for his 4th term. Coming up here this next time around, 2022. In 2021, he had total profits of $1 million to $3.2 million. His average profit per transaction was between $17,000 and $52,000 over 62 total trades. So our Representative Mast is doing very well with his stock trading now that he's in Congress. Kind of amazing when you look at his financials when he started compared to what they are now. So
yeah, I think it's very telling.
It truly is, and there's more, and I'll cover the other ones. And folks, this is a Democrat and a Republican issue. It's both.
This is an American issue.
It's an American issue.
This is an American issue, and the Republicans and Democrats neither are acting like Americans at this point. This is how, don't get me started on that one.
Well, they get elected into office, and wow, lo and behold, look at all, look what we have for information.
Yeah, but
look
we're
what
electing
we can
a party. We're not electing individuals to office anymore.
We're not
and that's the problem. If you're in my party, Sarah Hurd's a perfect example of that. Like her or not, Sarah Hurd is not a Republican by any stretch of the imagination. She may be registered as one, But there's an interesting definition of Republicans in this county anyway.
So you're saying just because they have an R behind their name doesn't mean they're Republican, or a D makes them a Democrat.
Correct.
You need to look at the individual person and find out what they stand for, how they're going to vote. Do you agree with that in Republican principles?
Well, think about it. If I want to get into office, all right, first of all, I would have shut my mouth years ago and would have quit upsetting as many people as I have. But
glad you didn't, Eric.
Anybody that wants to get into office, you live in any particular geography, you have a dominant party usually within that area that you live in. And if you want to get in, you're going to go with the winning team to get yourself into the place that you want to be, because the party be damned, you're going in with an agenda 9 times out of 10.
Absolutely.
And to go in as a party candidate, I'll tell you what, from experience, there are no party candidates. The party is recruiting candidates that will play the game with them, like Brian Mast, that will come to the table and be rewarded with these types of things to get his way out. He turned as soon as he got up there.
That's right.
They got him. The machine got him. And this happens at a local level as well as at a state
100%.
level. It's a party. Don't vote for the letter on the sweater.
Agree 100%. And you need to look beyond the popular name. You need to look beyond just maybe you like that person. We like Brian because he's a veteran. He's a wounded veteran. But
that's a plus in his column.
It is, and we appreciate that service. There's no doubt about it.
Right on.
But is he upholding what conservatives and Republican values that we elected him to do? And that's what folks need to look at.
He's not.
No, he hasn't.
He's not. He's not reflecting well. See, we had something we used to say in the military, and that is, are you reflecting well upon your unit? Are you reflecting well upon yourself and on your comrades, the people that you're standing with? Are you reflecting? Is what I'm doing reflecting well upon my unit? And I think Brian needs to ask himself that at this point. Is what he's doing reflecting well upon the American principles that he supposedly went to defend and uphold? Because a lot of what he's doing, a ban on weapons, is not constitutional.
Well, not just Brian, but I think voters need to look at who they're electing. Are you happy with that? I mean, with these candidates that get into office, it's very tough to get an incumbent out. Why is that? I mean, I think people are not looking at their voting record. They're not following them enough, and they just see that popular name on a sign.
Well, yeah, we have screens the average person has a screen in their face all day long. They're being bombarded with what they're supposed to be looking like, what they're supposed to be driving, what they're supposed to be thinking. Everything is pre-programmed to keep you moving in this retail-centric environment. And thank goodness maybe a little bit of the retail-centric environment starting to break down, and people are having to get back around maybe to a little bit more agrarian agri-sense about themselves. Right. I know that fight or flight's coming out in a lot of people, and they don't know why as much anymore, but their environment's changing and things are not the way that. Look, when your energy secretary for the United States of America says that we're going to go through some oil and gas prices as we transition to a non-oil and gas-based economy, you know what's coming, kids. So buckle up.
That's right.
And let's put some people at the helm at least before this ship cracks up to the point that there's no helm to recover. And it goes again beyond the R and the D. You've got a guy, like you said, here's a guy that's a wounded combat veteran that is completely shredding the honor of what it means to be a Republican to begin with, this insider trading that's going on. Not that Republicans are
both sides, but again, it's a very unethical at the very least. And it's illegal for anybody else outside of Capitol Hill to have insider trading.
It's immoral. You go to serve, and Brian should understand serving, and this is not service. This is taking advantage of a situation.
It's taking advantage of a position.
Sorry, I don't mean to be so hard on Brian, but Brian represents us in CD18. He represents me, and that's not the character of the individual that I want to see taking my message to Washington, D.C. You know what? Why don't we start doing Zoom meetings for these guys and let these guys sit in district?
Right.
Let's take away having to go up to Congress to vote. They can vote here. They're telling us that digital voting machines are safe. Well, they can put themselves on a digital voting machine, and they can stay in district. And once the people have more access to them while they're voting,
right.
I think some votes might change.
Alicia Parenteau, thanks for tuning in. She says Brian Mast is not a constitutional conservative. He is good at writing letters, but has done nothing new or different to bring new federal dollars to our area.
Ouch.
And that's the thing. But Alicia, obviously, she's somebody that's in tune and following who she's voting for, who she's electing. And that's, folks, that's what you have to do. And that's what we're begging. And we're going to really cover that next year as the election comes up in 2022.
Let's get off of Brian
because
it really is a sore thumb with me.
Well, it's all
I've even reached out to talk with Brian, and Brian won't reach back out to me. So I don't like letting those kinds of things sit out there and fester. But I think Brian has let us all down in a big way, and that's a personal feeling of mine.
Well, and next year's another election, and
it is, and I'm getting ready for it. We're going to redo some things on Talk About Martin over the holidays while we go on our hiatus.
We're still working, but behind the scenes.
And I want to put an election section together so that we can feature as many of the election-centric type things that are going on and make it easy for people to find out what these people are saying that are asking for your money and your vote.
Right, and that's very important. I mean, that's what it's about, is education. I always try to have the candidates on. I don't tell them they're right or wrong. I don't tell them their stance, if I agree with it or not. I want to hear what they think and what they stand for. And I think that's really important. And then we'll see, if they get elected, if they stay true to what they said. So, and unfortunately, more often than not, they don't. That's not true of all elected officials, thank goodness. But
the system grabs them at a certain point too, and we've talked about that. The administrative state takes away the power that you think you're going up there with, because you're given false choices, because the regulatory state is giving you the choices to make.
Right.
No, it's in a bad place.
Let me cover a couple others. I wanted to finish with the 47 members of Congress that violated the Stock Act, and just the ones from Florida. The other ones are Representative John Rutherford. He's a Republican from Florida. He failed to properly disclose 5 individual stock transactions in 2020. Representative Kathy Castor, she's a Democrat from Florida, and she was also late disclosing the purchase of tens of thousands of dollars worth of stock shares throughout 2021. So that was our Florida representatives that, but again, it's a $200 fine, and it could even be waived by the ethics committees. So
my dog ate my lunch.
That's right. I forgot. I didn't realize that. So I have to break for 1 second because I need to let everybody know I appreciate the sponsors here in locally and helping to bring my show. And one thing with the show is I just like to bring community issues. I like to bring people on so that we have a chance to find out about new organizations or things that are happening in the area and the community, laws that are being passed, regulations, or nonprofits. There's just so many different things, and I couldn't do this without the help of folks like Fish House Art Center and Indian Town Marina. Fish House Art Center is a really cool little spot. It's down in Port Salerno. It's a lot of fun, and they call themselves the best kept secret in Martin County. And I agree. If you're down in Port Salerno, you have to check out the Fish House Art Center. Come by boat, car, or stroll the boardwalk to explore what the best kept secret has to offer. Their boardwalk features local artists, an Airbnb, art gallery, boat charters, marina, craft and creamery, craft beers, wine, and 24 flavors of ice cream. So there's something for the entire family. Bike rentals, sales, accessories are available at Kraken Bikes and Boards. And if you're a beach person, you can get a paddleboard. Liquid Aloha has you covered for the water with sales, accessories, and the paddleboard rentals. They also have refurbished furniture, monogram cutting boards, and so much more. And this is all at the Fish House Art Center in Port Salerno. Has a marina there. They have slips available, and you can give them a call at 772-221-5482 or find out more at thefishhouseartcenter.com. Fun spot here right in Port Salerno, right in the heart of Martin County. And also Indian Town Marina. This is a great marina, a safe hurricane hull. Thank goodness we've made it through hurricane season. I think we can officially say we made it through this year. I think it ends the end of the month. But
works for me.
But there's nothing else out there right now. But not only that, they Great for boat storage. And right now, with it being winter, it might be a good time to do bottom painting or electrical work, mechanical work. You can do it yourself there, or you can hire someone to do the work for you, and that's at Indiantown Marina. You can give them a call at 772-631-3272. Again, that's 772-631-3272. Indiantown Marina, great place to take your boat. And also commercial mortgage, forbearances, working remotely, internet shopping, retail space, and rental income have been hit so hard by COVID. If you're looking to restructure your debt, obtain financing or equity, Commercial Mortgage can help you out. Tim Mullen at Commercial Mortgage has been providing debt restructuring services since 2003. Tim never charges a front fee, and all consultations are free. Tim only gets paid if he provides you a debt workout. So if you need some help right now with everything that's been going on with COVID, give Tim a call. He might be able to help you out. 772-872-6099, 872-6099. Or you can visit commercialmortgagellc.com to schedule your free consultation. And finally, I need to remind everybody, I'm very excited about this. It's the Carnival of Lights have come to Martin County, and it's thanks to our fair. Martin County Fair Association is putting this on. It starts November 26th, so it's coming up this weekend. It's every weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays from 5:30 to 9. They're going to have music, crafters, food, rides. The model are railroad clubs out there, and just so much more. Only $10, and if you're 12 and under, the admission's free. So let's go out there, support our fair, and it's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be Christmas trees and all kinds of Christmas decorations, and it's going to put us in the spirit because it's time. I mean, it's the holiday season, so it is ho ho ho's. So
get the nog. Let's
go.
I
know.
It's time to snog.
I needed to reach out to Jay to find out if there's going to be something in that eggnog, but I don't know that yet.
I hope so. I mean, they had a beer tent for the fair. They better have a snog tent.
I
little
took
Captain Morgan sponsored snog tent.
It sounds good, this snog tent. I tell you, I stopped out there to give my banner out there for the sponsorship, and there was a whole cart full of empty beer cans, and I'm like, oh my goodness, you guys must have had one heck of a party. So they're like, oh no, that was from the fair, and I'm like, oh well, check it out. It's Carnival of Lights, I know. So it's always fun at the fairgrounds.
Yeah, buddy.
Gotta check out the Martin County Fair. But we're talking about different things that are happening here, and one hot issue that's been going on is the comp plan at the Martin County Commission. And right now there was some, as I understand it, a mandated change through the state that they had to work on, and it's Chapter 19 in the comp plan. And at the same time, they're proposing to remove Chapter 2 in the comp plan. They said there was things that were just redundant. And folks, this is where it really has paid off for residents to become involved and reach out, because your voice does matter. And there were so many people that said, no, wait, we need to go through Chapter 2. There's redundancies, but there's also some things that are not redundant. You're calling redundant. And what happened at Tuesday's meeting is they went ahead and approved Chapter 19, but for Chapter 2, they're going to slow down a little bit, listen to public comment, hold some workshops. And, Commissioner Campy suggest or put the motion in. Commissioner Jenkins seconded it, but they all supported that. And really, if you listen to that meeting, it was people were very passionate about our comp plan. And for those of you who don't know, the comp plan is just a pillar of our community. It dictates the 4-story height limit, has the urban service boundary. It tells different zoning issues, where you can build, what kind of companies can build there, whether it's a commercial or residential or multifamily, all those things. And Iggy, I have a graphic I just wanted you to put up. One thing I've noticed with these meetings, and there is a lot of new building that is going on, people are like, they'll write the county commission and say, oh, how can you allow this? How did you allow Costco? And the graphic that Iggy has put up now, and for listeners, if you can't see it, just Google City of Stuart boundary. And or even zoning, and you'll see a map of the city of Stuart. So if it's within that map, the county commission has nothing to do with it.
Right.
Then you need to talk to the city commissioners about that, and vice versa. The city commissioners have no say in the county.
They'll run out of room soon enough unless they start annexing.
Well, they talked a little bit about that. They basically, the county said, we really can't stop the city from annexing.
Nope.
It's the property owner's right. If they want to annex their property, they can.
And they're smack dab in the middle of the county, just like Port St. Lucie was
They are.
up here. And you now have the 7th largest city in Florida, just one county to our north.
So, yep,
because of
city
annexation.
Port St. Lucie.
Yeah.
And if you look at that map, you can see how the annexation happens because it has to be a contiguous property.
Right.
So if it's contiguous, the guy that was in the county, if he's touching a city property, he could say, I'd like to annex my property, and they can. So,
Yeah.
and that's why the map looks so funky. I mean, there are no straight boundaries.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
no.
just all over the place. You can kind of see fingers here and there. So, so it's really important though to know if you have, whether it's a compliment or a complaint, to know who to send that to. And within that boundary, it's city commissioners, and outside there's the county. So that was something that came up yesterday, and I thought that would almost be a good show in itself, is just explaining the county zoning ordinances and who's responsible for the zoning in which areas.
Right.
And Indiantown has its own now, right?
Yeah, the village of Indiantown now has its own set, if you can fathom it. That Scott with the with Indiantown Marina has talked about this on your show before. Some of the oddities that are in it are incredible, but the documents do actually govern the way that this county is supposed to end up, and how we're supposed to do things, and what's supposed to happen. Let me ask you a question. We were talking in the prior half hour about power, and how the power at the higher levels has allowed for this corruption to come in, that there's just too much power, and they're not close enough to the people. And when you look at the situation here in Martin County, let's just look at it as Martin County as the entire universe at this point. There's a lot of power in those 5 seats, in those five commission seats that we have. We're chopped up into 5 districts. And it sounds very boring, and that's the other thing I'd like to talk about as a citizenry when we get a chance, is how do you, and that's the age-old question, how do you get the citizenry reinvigorated back into the process to where they just have to pay attention? That's what's required of us. Pay attention and take action when you see things that are wrong that are taking place. That's all we have to do as citizens. But the power that's rolled into these seats is pretty strong, and I think we're getting to a point now, both in a tax base and a population level, and just where the climate is in Florida right now, to take a look at a statute that exists that would allow us to put to referendum a change in the way that we actually elect our county commissioners. And what it would do is take these 5 districts that we already have drawn. They're drawn by state law, and you would still draw the districts the way that the state law mandates them, but they would change now to district commissions, meaning commissioners, meaning that they would only be elected by the people within their district. They would not be elected at large. So no one in Jensen Beach would be voting for someone for western Martin County, which half of this county, if you drive to Okeechobee, the amount of time that you take driving through western old Florida back there is still Martin County, all the way up to 15B where the grade comes out. So changing it to where we localize those people closer to the demographic living within the district itself, then on top of that, the statute allows for 2 more commissioners. We'd go from 5 to 7, and it would put 2 at-large, which would be elected by the at-large community in Martin County. So you would still have that voice of, this is what's best for the county, but then each district would have, but this is bad for my district, which they would have to maintain because they have to be elected by the people in their district as well. So it's, which leads me then into a referendum, which costs, to do a referendum, you're probably going to spend $30,000 to $70,000 in an election cycle to get enough referendums to get on ballot signatures on a referendum ballot. But it seems to me like a good investment for some people that might want to consider starting a third political party or movement within Martin County to take that opportunity to organize around it and find a way to build some infrastructure to begin changing some things in the community that we live in. Not that things are terrible or that they're collapsing, but I think that we need to pull some reins in. We need to tighten some screws down and slow some things down. The waste management thing is a perfect example of that, and the size of the government and what it's taking for this. We're turning into a regulatory bureaucratic environment here in Martin County too. I think we need to pare some of that back.
So folks, if you want to join the conversation or have a comment about this, 772-220-WSTU 220-9788. Also, I'm watching my Facebook live feed. If you want to have a comment or question, certainly put it in there as well. And Eric, it's funny that you bring up the commission districts, because that I've always thought that. I'm like, okay, why do we have districts when everybody's voting on them anyway? It's like, if it's important to that district, my district population isn't enough maybe to elect who we want, because it's a county-wide election that the votes come in. So having a commissioner elected by that district, only by that district, makes complete sense to me. I mean, otherwise...
Well, see, that's why, and I'm going to speculate on something here and go back, because the slush funds that they have, the six-figure slush funds that they get to use, I think came about because of that problem that you're speaking about in the dynamic. Why have a district, if you are supposed to be my district commissioner, why aren't you bringing more to the district? So if I give you money to go ahead and write checks to the people that are, why aren't you doing that here? How much do you need? 5,000, 10,000. Here's a check. Now be quiet.
I know these slush funds are our tax money. That's another thing that
And now some of it's gone to some pretty good uses.
It does.
However, I don't like giving an open checkbook to an elected official.
Right.
I mean, what are we doing?
Right.
What are we doing?
Why are we doing this?
Why are we doing it? And I think it goes back to the dynamic again that, I voted for it because it was better for the whole county. We sacrificed. I mean, there's no district representation, like you said. If I know I'm going to get elected by the people in my district, I'm going to represent Western Martin County.
You're going to serve them.
If I'm a Campy or a Jenkins in those two districts,
right.
I know where the money is in Western Martin County, and some of it's in Palm City, some of it's in Hobe Sound, but there are some serious pockets in Western Martin County that I don't think people know exist, and it could really change a lot of dynamics politically within this county, and I don't think for the worst. I think we could get back to, I think that we could have a less litigious county. Let's just put it that way.
Right.
There's some things that could change. We could scale the government back, and the whole dynamic. Once you scale government back, the dynamic changes from there. It's not a predictability, but I can tell you that I think it would scale the size back. I really do.
It would be very interesting. I'm struggling a little bit. I'm like, okay, we're adding 2 more commissioners, so there's more government officials, but you're making them the 5 of them, as you said, would certainly be committed to their district instead of committed to an overall, see who I can get election donations from.
And you can get a pretty good argument from them as to why, if it affected their district, they went ahead and voted for it when it benefited somebody else's district. The you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours that goes on with this is kind of, it is what it is. Well, it's human nature, but I like the idea of those 2 more people, Casey, if I can, because 5 adults have a hard enough time coming up with something that they agree on.
Right.
7 are going to have even a harder time. It's going to slow the process down. And
they're accountable to
their different dynamic now.
And 5 of them are very accountable to their districts now. Where now they're just not.
Right.
Because you have the countywide election. And politics are really funny. I remember Congressman Murphy at the time had a fundraiser meeting, and he spoke about what it was like in Washington, D.C. He went there as this young man and all charged up with energy to change the world. And when he got there, he found out, how it really works is your aides, as you're walking onto the floor, say, okay, this is how you're going to vote today. He said, your primary duty is to raise funds in his case for the Democratic Party, but for whichever party it is, he goes, that's your primary duty. And if you don't raise enough funds, they don't give you money back to get elected in your campaigns.
And you don't get committee assignments.
You don't get committee assignments.
So you can't make the insider trades.
Yes.
Well,
it all comes full circle.
Yeah, no, and that's what I'm saying. It works in the Republican Party and the Democratic Party both the same way. And that's where the labels, that's where that honor goes back to the label that you wear. If you're going to wear a shirt that says Army, show the honor of the Army while you're wearing the shirt. Don't go out and be a bum. Don't flip somebody off while you're driving. You know, if you're going to be a congressman, go up and act like a congressman with the honor that's deserved the title that you're borrowing for a little while that we're letting you use. Don't go up there and be a bum. And there's too much of the honor that's lost because I think the constituency doesn't expect to see it anymore. We want to see it, but we don't. Why aren't people doing more to make sure that it happens? There has to be the dynamic from the constituency. And it goes beyond the phone call and the email, but there has to be a personal dynamic that takes place that's the zeitgeist of the day. You just don't feel comfortable going out and being that person that says, well, they're just politicians. No, they're not just politicians. They represent us, and they need to get back to acting that way.
For those of you that are tuning in on the radio and can't see through the Facebook Live video, Eric's wearing his Army shirt today. So there was a reason why he said that, and Eric, as always, thank you for your service. You know, you talk about that with Congress. The other thing that I think term limits are necessary.
Yeah.
This is what happens. It seems like the longer they're in Congress, the further they get away from their constituents. It's like you look at donors that are completely outside, nothing to do with our district, nothing to do with our state, that are bringing these congressmen back in, and women.
Well, there's another dynamic for you. It'd be interesting to watch and see how many outside contributors actually gave to a county district race, or are they raising their funds from within the district? So these things are telltale, but they don't mean an amount to a hill of beans, just like the congressional, unless the people pay attention to it. And then I guess what's going to have to happen is people are just going to have to get to a tipping point that they say enough is enough. But then what? Where do they go? To the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, or do they turn to where they're going right now, to just frustration? Look at San Francisco and the West Coast, where it's gone to hell in a handbasket, and it's here now. This collapse of morality is in our borders now, and we're lucky to be where we are. Speaking of Thanksgiving, not everything's a downer. We're in a very good place, but you don't keep good without working to maintain it. You have to maintain it. And it takes self-sacrifice sometimes. You need to find that 15, 20 minutes in a day just to look and say, are things really working the way that they should be working in the world? Did we do the right thing? Okay, you guys are doing a good job. Keep going. Or what
are you doing?
Yeah, and then that's where the conversations need to come back in. We need to be talking at the mailbox, at the hairdresser with, did you see? I mean, why are they doing this? At a local level, why are they closing this road? Why are we doing that? You don't hear those conversations anymore.
The only time people seem to get involved is if it's in their backyard. And, other than that, it's hard to get people engaged anymore. And I think it is frustration for the most part. People feel like they don't have a voice. They feel like their vote doesn't count. And, and people are busy with their own lives. And it's just...
we need to give them a place that they can go where their voice does matter.
And that's what you're trying to do with Talk About Martin, by the way.
I am. I want anybody and everybody that has an idea, that has a thought, that has a problem that they see that needs to be addressed, that can be addressed publicly through our system of voting and governance. Let's talk about it, because there aren't enough conversations taking place, like this transition from a gas-based, oil-based economy to an electric, battery, solar, wind farm driven panacea.
Well, that's the waste management thing. We actually had our county government telling a private company, if you want to do business with us, you have to have the natural gas trucks.
And a county commissioner who's asking everybody, please bear with us during this transition because it's good for the environment and it's going to help with the climate change effort and yada, yada, yada. Okay, and those are 5 Republicans, supposedly, that sit on that commission. Y'all can go find out which commissioner it was, do some homework on it that said that, but
Right, and all those meetings, they are televised, and you can go to Martin County TV, and you can look at any meeting, and they go back years.
So while we're all frustrated and looking for a place to land, why don't we all land in the same place and just base it upon a common set of rules that we already have called the Bill of Rights and the Constitution? And then when we get local here, we can take a look at our comp plan and make sure that the people we're electing are the people that are going to go up and do what we want them to do with that comprehensive plan.
It's true. It is. It's a frustrating thing. I watched so many elected officials, and I'm going to go back a little bit more here to the term limits again, and this is on the federal thing. And not to pick on Congressman Mass because he's not the only one that has done this, but he signed on to the three terms and out, and now he's running for his fourth term because now he's been in Congress.
Sign up for 3 or for 4? Did he sign up for a 6-year or 8-year?
It was for 3 terms.
Was it for 3?
For 3 terms. Yes.
Well, there you go. I mean, come on, Brian. What's the deal, man? If you signed a pledge, that just means that pledge that you signed, again, how can I hold that pledge that
we can't? That's so frustrating.
You blow that one. How do I hold the rest
of your
pledges?
It sounded good when you go to vote for them the first time, but then it just goes out the window when they get elected. I mean,
that's crazy.
And like I said, he's not the only one. I mean, everybody likes the sound of it, so I'm for it. But then once they're in, they have all the benefits of being a congressman or woman.
Well, they know that we're not going to do anything to keep an eye on what they're doing. That's just it.
No, and we don't. We truly don't as people, and that's up to us. I mean, it truly is.
It is, but again, how do you form a society without systems to regulate the things that affect every one of us, okay? And they don't have to be really restrictive, but governance is one that we've tried to make. Our founders tried to be the least restrictive, the most restrictive at a local level. So wouldn't you think that if the government that is to be the most restrictive is in your backyard, that you would want to at least understand what can they do and what can't they do? Are they doing what they can? Are they doing what they can't? If you
local
allow
government,
the system to run itself without you being a part of the system, that system is going to do whatever it wants, and you be damned, because you're not putting yourself into the system. You can't rely upon everybody else to say, oh, they'll work it out for me. That workout has led you to the Republican and the Democratic Party that are both. How many people voted for the last $1.5 trillion next debt buster stimulus? So.
Right.
You've got to get involved at a basic level, just a basic level of understanding, and not be afraid to exercise your even not your emotion, but what's natural from being stepped on. Why is that guy or why is that woman doing that to me? They're not supposed to be. Who voted for you? I'll make sure I don't vote for you next time. That's it.
That is it. And you can write them, you can call them. I mean, it's just getting involved. So many times people get involved after the fact, after it's voted on, and it's just too late. And, that's where it's just so important to just read agendas, see what's coming up here in these meetings, because you're saying it right, Eric. It starts locally, and that's what impacts us the most.
Yep.
We talk about federal, we talk about state, but it's our local city and county elected officials that affect us and how we do business and how we build and where, how we live.
Well, let's look at that seven commissioner structure again for a second, because you had said you weren't quite too sure how it would work with 2 of them being, the overall kind of. When you look at your local Republican Party, your local Republican Party is broken down into precincts. All right, there are multiple individual boundary precincts of homes and residents that people can get elected to. There's a certain number based upon the population within that precinct of precinct members that can go on the ballot and by other Republicans be voted for to get a precinct committee seat to have a vote within the local Republican Party. Then from there, the county elects a state committee man and a state committee woman. And that state committee man and woman represent the county at a state level, and they do not have to be precinct committeemen. So they can be separated from the precinct itself be an overall representative at a state level for the party. And the balance is that sometimes you get a number of precincts that are looking to do something to push an initiative through, or something for the St. Lucie or what have you, or moving in a direction. And your state committee man and woman are sitting there going, look, this isn't republicanism. This isn't what the state party is looking at. So you get this balance of power and influence that takes place. Not that you're having cigar-filled tuxedo chamber brandy sniffing meetings, but there is this power dynamic anytime you get people together and you give them a title of authority or position. There are dynamics that take place within any of us, and that's what a good leader takes, is being able to identify what those human traits are and then not allowing yourself to abuse them.
Right.
And there's so few people within the political arena that are willing to take those steps the same way they might in their own spiritual life.
True.
We're actually looking for people to participate in the American way of life.
Right, right.
I mean, next to your religion, the American way of, would you like the Chinese way of life or the Russian, the German way of life? If that's the way of life you want, go there and see if they don't make you participate.
Right.
You don't have to be a junkie on politics, but get involved in your community at a level that it affects you and affects somebody else positively, and try to stay within the bounds of what we've all agreed on. That's all there is to it.
It does. And school boards, they're going through an issue nationwide right now. Everybody's finding out how important it is who you elect on that school board, because what they're putting into the school system is they're the ones deciding. So if you don't know who you're electing, who knows what your children are being taught, what's being introduced. So at every local level, it's so important. And I'll tell you one other thing, Eric, as we're on our soapbox here a little bit, with the commission seats, it always surprises me when I hear a commissioner vote, well, staff recommended it. I want you to study it and you to know it. Not, why do I have a commissioner if you're just going to go along with what staff recommends?
Let's
just hire staff
because they're the experts. They have all these qualified globalist international standards of development. It's sustainable.
And we just talked about that, right?
Yeah.
We talked about that 2 weeks ago, the sustainability. And we're going to do more shows on that, as a matter of fact, with Jim Stacks. So, but yeah, that's just one thing. It's like, no, I elected you to read that regulation. And that's fine to listen to staff, but I want you to make the decision, not just, I don't need to pay you to sit there and say, oh, staff recommended it. That's it. I mean, you know?
Exactly.
I want a free thinker, an independent thinker.
Right.
So staff may or may not be
those
right.
are again, we said that earlier. Those are the false choices that are being presented to them. That's why when Murphy went there thinking he was going to change the world, he was giving a set of choices to make, neither one of which was going to change anything.
Right.
It was just, which way do you want to go? Do you want the red pill or the blue pill?
Right. It's a good way. It's a good way to put it. Again, folks, this is the last live show of the year, and I appreciate every one of you tuning in and contacting me. I'm always looking for new show ideas as well. So if you have something, you can message me over Facebook, or you can email me, the Casey Ingram Show at mail.com, and that's at mail, not Gmail. Everybody wants to put the G in there. It's not. It's mail at mail.com. And we're going to have a lot of great shows coming up in January. Again, Eric Miller will be back with Talk About Martin. I'm going to have the superintendent of schools back on, Ted Astolfi from the Economic Council, and again, Nancy Smith, who a longtime Stewart News editor here, and she's been a journalist her whole life. Very interesting stories.
I'm going to be in high company in January.
You
I'll tell you what.
You are. We are kicking the new year off. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, man.
And Eric, Talk About Martin. You said you're kind of revamping the site a little bit, and that's, folks, check out the website. It's really what Eric has designed it for, especially here in Martin County. It's Talk About Martin.
Keep you updated.
That's
One of
right.
those easy places. You know, there's other ones out there. Friends and Neighbors. Tom Campini does a good job of of monitoring the public meetings. Find somebody that you can relate to that's going to give you something that you can find easily. Make sure that you check them out. Don't take them as a sole source, because not all of us have all of the answers, and you don't want to follow a person like in a cult. You want to be able to make up your own mind, but at least take a look at what someone else's opinions are and figure out if you agree with them or not. They're going to give you a head start on a lot of this, and it's necessary. It is necessary, because what's happening is going to affect you more and more. Just, dare I say the word lockdown, mask, Band-Aid.
Right.
Okay, need I say any more? And we suffered a lot of that locally, too, with the maskophobia that took place, and it became very divisive.
It sure did. It sure did.
That's why it's important to know who you're electing.
It is. Look at Governor DeSantis compared to other governors. I mean, there's a prime example. It's so important.
Amen.
Amen is
Talk
right.
about a Thanksgiving.
Yes.
We're in a providential place right now, and we need to act providentially.
Yes, absolutely. So, speaking of Thanksgiving, I hope you have a wonderful one and enjoy the holidays that are coming up, and I'll definitely see you next year. Again, I want to thank Indiantown Marina, Fish House Art Center, Scott Watson, Commercial Mortgage, Tim Mullen. I appreciate you sponsoring the show. Always love that. And again, appreciate you, the listeners, the most. And we talk about the issues that are happening in the community from local to federal level, but all of them impact us. And again, show ideas. Always reach out to me. I'd love to listen to new shows and have great new people on the show. And Eric, again, it's been a wonderful last show, just like last year.
As always, it's fun, Casey. I mean, it's great. There's so much going on, and hopefully we can have a positive impact in the year to come, too.
You got it. Take care, folks. I'll see you next year.